everybody. Welcome to step 4 of Bootcamp 2025. And today we are talking about photography and caption writing, choosing the best photos for your spread, and how to write great storytelling captions for them. And this is so important because if people look at anything in the books, that's all they want to see, right? Is they want to see the photos. And so today, by the time you're done today, we want you to have photos of your partner. You're going to take them out, take some photos or get some photos from them or a combination thereof. And then we want you to write captions for each of those photos.
Okay, everybody, you have a story written. You have a draft. This is amazing. We're so proud of you for working through this. If you struggled, you might want to go back and re-look at the different kinds of leads and see if that's working for you. And you want to make sure if you don't have enough quotes, that's okay. You're going to face this. You may have to go back, and now you're kind of know what you really want. Wouldn't it be great if I had a quote about this? And so you may need to retool some of your questions, re-interview to get just exactly what you want. In fact, I would say, 9 times out of 10, this is going to be the process. You're going to try to write it, and then in trying to write it, you're going to find out what you really needed to know, and you're going to go back and do a re-interview. So another great thing to do at this time is if you can print out your story, and if you can't, that might take too much time, but get to where you're going to identify, okay, lead, check. Quote number 1, check. Transition, ooh, that's good. It has good information. And remember little details, because we always have to tell people this. Stories generally are written in the past tense because this event's going to have happened in the summer. Your audience won't read it until May when the book comes out. So keep all that moving. No editorializing. You're not telling your opinion. You're just quoting facts, but you're taking your reader through this process. Lead, quote, transitions, quote, and depending upon how long it is will depend upon how long that process will go on. So this is a great start. I'm so excited. And you're well on your way to your first story, your first layout.
I know, Jim, you always say photos are for today. The writing, the stories, the captions are for 20 years from now. We need to know what's happening in those photos. So we want great emotional photos for our spreads, but we also need to have great storytelling captions that tell us what's happening in those photos.
Truth to tell, in this part of the activity, this could be a little bit challenging because you may not be able to generate the photos you really need that go with your topic, and that's okay. You can go outside and shoot some things on your iPhone or whatever it takes. This was an easy process for Sabrina because I kind of had in mind that there could be a story of this. Plus, I overpost on Facebook, as everybody knows, and so they were going, boom. So
that's where I got them all.
So if you don't have perfect photos in this one, it's okay.
Yes. And so remember, you might be able to ask your partner to provide some photos for you that you can use on the spread. And I would also challenge you guys to go out and practice taking some photos. So if you're writing a story about their passion for theater, maybe you go to a rehearsal and try to snap some photos, but practice your photography here as well. That's the other part of this challenge. All of these pieces are going to work together to tell one story and to send one message. I was also looking for something that would be dominant worthy, something that I know I could blow up and make into a big dominant that was going to help support the story. And I was also looking for things that had variety. So there was a lot of Jim takes a great selfie. There was a lot of pictures of Jim in front of different places that he was eating, with your ice cream and all this stuff, but I didn't want 10 different selfie photos of Jim because that's all going to look very one note on the spread. So I was looking for photos of him with one other person, him with groups of people, maybe him in action in some places, maybe him at his camp. I was looking for a variety of different photos. That way, when I chose which ones I wanted for my spread, I had a lot of different variety that would be showcased on my layout. So when you're looking at photos and when you're trying to gather, remember the story reigns supreme. You're wanting to choose photos that are faces, show emotion. Hopefully in most situations, we want them to be candid action photos if possible. Sometimes in situations like this with a profile, they're not as candid. You know, they might be a little bit more posed. That's okay. And then try to find things that are supporting the story, that show emotion, and that are interesting to look at, that are engaging, and obviously well composed, good photos. Remember, lame photos equal lame captions. So if we have great photos, we've got great captions, and that's the next piece of this. We don't just need to have great photos on our spread, we need to have great storytelling captions in there. And the good thing is, just like there's a formula for writing your story, there is a formula for writing a caption. So if you have never written a caption before, you don't know what these parts are, we would challenge you guys to stop right now and go watch the caption writing training videos and look at the materials that are linked on our site for step 4 of caption writing, so that you can go get all of that information and know all the different parts of a great storytelling caption before we move on. But we are going to show you a little bit about how we wrote some of the captions for some of the images that we ended up using on our spread with Jim. So the first thing that first of all, we had a bunch of photos to work with, which was great. Jim did a great job providing all of those. But there was one in particular that was kind of interesting because it did have its own little story to tell. And it was the photo of him and NBA star David Robinson. Yep. And how you caught up with him on the ride, and he was a celebrity and everybody was talking about it.
Yeah, on Thursday, the buzz was going around the ride that David Robinson was on the ride. And my buddy that was a little bit faster than I was, he had seen him. And now understand, he's 7'1" tall. So his bike was absolutely huge, biggest bike we'd ever seen. And he didn't have an entourage around him. He was just sitting there, and I sat down beside him, and he let me take a selfie. Nicest guy. So it was just a really cool encounter that I'm glad Sabrina picked that one as one of the photos, because it was a special moment more than just your average time. And a caption like that, it's going to be easy to write because there's tons of information about him that everybody needs to know. And so there's all sorts of details that are going to make for a perfect caption.
So remember, the first part of a caption is the attention getter. It's like a mini headline for your caption. And in this particular case, it was Jim and this NBA star, and he's called the Admiral, correct? Right?
Yep.
And so the attention getter is the Admiral and me, because that's what it was. Like, it was the Admiral and Jim, which made perfect sense. And then obviously with a photo that's not candid, it's sometimes a little bit harder to write the first sentence, because the first sentence of your caption is in present tense and should be describing what's happening in the photo. So in this particular case, Jim is taking a selfie with this NBA star. We got to tell everybody the who, what, when, where, and why of what's going on in this photo in present tense. So the first sentence is, after several sightings of NBA star David Robinson during RAGBRAI, Jim Jordan catches the basketball star on Friday, July 25th, and takes a quick photo. Boom, done. Short, sweet, to the point. We got the date in there. We got his name. We got Jim's name. And that's really what happened. That was basically summing it all up. Okay. So just from our second sentence is always going to be that complimentary info. What do I need to know that I can't tell just from looking at this photo? So we got some good information there that helps continue the story. And then the last sentence is the direct quote. Okay, so we want a quote that kind of helps support the rest of it. It's not a random quote. It should have to do with the rest of the caption, because these are like mini stories. So we've got a quote from Jim that says, "Crazy to see a 7'1" guy on a bike, but he was just one of us out there on the ride. He was so nice and gracious with everyone," Jordan said. Okay, so ties up the whole caption and really just reads like a little mini story. A headline, our attention getter, our basic information sentence, our complimentary info sentence, and our direct quote, and sums it right up. You guys can do this, okay? We want you to take all the photos that you're getting from your partner or that you go to take about your partner, and then write formula captions for these photos, so you get all of those mini stories in there and all that extra information on your spread. So remember, by the time you are done with step 4, we want to see photos, We want you to choose the best photos that are going to best fit your spread and support your story. And then we want you to have captions written for each photo, full, complete ABCD captions. And don't forget to go watch the training videos that are linked below on photography and caption writing if you need more information about either of these topics. So now's the fun part. Go take some pictures and write some captions and tell these stories.
Yes. Can't wait to see what you come up with.